I discovered my daughter-in-law had been poisoning me for 18 months when I heard her whisper, "We'll kick him out after Christmas, and this $950,000 house is ours." I kept pretending to be drugged while rage burned in my chest, knowing she had no idea I'd been dumping that coffee for weeks, or that I'd recorded every incriminating word. What Patricia didn't understand was that she'd chosen the wrong target for her little scheme. I'm James Whitfield, a 70-year-old retired literature professor with a PhD in analytical thinking and 38 years of experience dissecting character motivations and narrative structures. More importantly, Patricia had no clue about my real financial situation. While she thought I was surviving on a modest professor's pension, I'd actually been quietly building wealth through real estate investments and consulting work that had left me with assets worth over $1 million. But let me back up to February 15th, 2023, the day after we buried my wife, Eleanor, because that's when Patricia's systematic campaign began. She'd been so helpful during Eleanor's final months, making my morning coffee and bringing it to my study with that concerned smile. "You need to keep your strength up, Dad," she'd say. And like a fool, I believed her genuine caring act. By April, something was terribly wrong. Every morning around 10 a.m., I'd feel crushing fatigue that made my thoughts fuzzy and words come out wrong. During family dinners, I'd lose track of conversations mid-sentence. "It's grief," Patricia would explain to Danny and our 12-year-old grandson Tyler. Plus his age, Dad's almost 70. I was actually 69, but I was too exhausted to correct her constant attempts to age me prematurely. The morning routine became predictably devastating. Coffee at 8:30, brain fog by 10, mandatory nap by noon. Patricia started accompanying me to doctor visits, playing the devoted daughter-in-law perfectly. "He's been so confused lately," she'd tell Dr. Peterson, then squeeze my shoulder sympathetically. "Tell him about forgetting to turn off the stove, Dad." I hadn't forgotten anything, but sitting there groggy and disoriented, I couldn't form coherent arguments. That's when the financial manipulation escalated. "Dad, you really shouldn't handle your own accounts," Danny said in June, after Patricia claimed to find unpaid bills scattered on my counter, bills I'd never seen and that she'd obviously planted. "We're just looking out for you," Patricia said sweetly, confiscating my checkbook to help with monthly expenses. Here's what made her scheme particularly insidious. My actual pension was $3,200 monthly. The house was completely paid off, and Eleanor and I had lived frugally for decades. My legitimate expenses shouldn't have exceeded $1,800 monthly, yet Patricia somehow had me perpetually broke. When I asked where my money was going, she'd sigh dramatically. "Medications are expensive, Dad. Your Ambien alone costs $84 monthly." Ambien? I'd never taken Ambien in my life. That was my first crack in understanding her elaborate deception, but the drugs kept my analytical abilities too scattered to investigate properly. By October, Patricia was broadcasting my supposed decline to the entire neighborhood. Mrs. Johnson started looking at me with pity after Patricia's carefully crafted conversations. "I'm so sorry about James," she told Patricia at the mailbox. "Early onset dementia is heartbreaking." Patricia would respond with perfect martyred patience. "We're managing. Some days are better than others." The isolation was methodical and complete. My weekly poker game? Dad's not feeling up to it anymore. Book club at the library? Too overstimulating for his condition. Even my brother Tom stopped visiting after Patricia convinced him I'd become aggressive and unpredictable. She told Danny it was safer to limit his social interactions because he gets agitated around people. Agitated. The only thing that agitated me was watching this manipulative woman systematically destroy my life while everyone praised her selfless dedication. By November, she'd convinced my family I needed constant supervision. "He left the gas burner on Tuesday," she'd report to Danny, a complete lie. "And yesterday I found him wandering the neighborhood in his pajamas," another fabrication. But her timing was perfect. I'd stumble downstairs around noon, still drugged from whatever she'd put in my morning coffee, and find concerned family members gravely discussing my deterioration. "Maybe we should look into memory care facilities," Patricia suggested during Thanksgiving dinner, "just for his safety." That's when everything changed, because 3 weeks earlier, on November 1st, I'd accidentally made a discovery that saved my life. That morning, I'd knocked over my coffee mug, reaching for my glasses. Patricia quickly made fresh coffee, but I was running late for what I thought was a doctor's appointment. Instead of drinking the replacement, I grabbed my coat and left. 4 hours later, my mind was clearer than it had been in months. That evening, I conducted an experiment. I dumped Patricia's coffee in the kitchen sink when she wasn't looking, filled the mug with water, and pretended to drink. Then I waited. No fatigue, no confusion. For the first time since February, I could think with complete clarity. The next morning, same experiment, and the next. Within a week, I understood exactly what had been happening. Patricia wasn't just stealing my money. She was stealing my cognitive function, my identity, my right to exist as a thinking person. But I needed ironclad proof that would stand up in court and expose her completely to my family. That's when I drove to Best Buy and spent $89 on a digital recorder. If Patricia thought she could gaslight a man who'd spent 4 decades teaching students to analyze deception, character motivation, and narrative manipulation, she'd made a fatal miscalculation. My plan required perfect timing and systematic documentation. From my years of literary analysis, I knew the most effective way to expose a liar is to let them reveal themselves completely while you gather overwhelming evidence. December 5th brought the breakthrough I needed. Patricia thought I was in my usual drugged stupor, slumped in my chair with the empty coffee mug, but the Sony recorder hidden in my cardigan pocket was capturing every word as she made her daily phone call. "The lawyer says we need medical documentation," she whispered into the phone while pacing the kitchen. 3 physicians stating he's mentally incompetent. I kept my breathing steady while she continued. "Dr. Peterson already signed off. Says James shows clear signs of cognitive decline. I made sure to mention the gas burner incident and the wandering episodes. Both complete fabrications, but Dr. Peterson hadn't questioned Patricia's devoted caregiver act. Dr. Brennan from the memory clinic will see him next week. I've already briefed him about James's condition. The 3rd signature should be easy. I found a neurologist who specializes in these cases." My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about stealing my house. Patricia was orchestrating having me declared legally incompetent, which would give her complete control over my assets while I rotted in a memory care facility. "Once we have the court order, everything transfers automatically," she continued. "The house, his pension, the life insurance payout from Eleanor's death. Danny doesn't suspect anything. He thinks we're being responsible caregivers. Life insurance, Eleanor's $50,000 policy that I'd planned to leave for Tyler's college education." Patricia's voice grew more excited as she moved toward the living room. "The property appraiser came yesterday while Danny was at work. $950,000. Can you believe it? Almost $1 million for this old place." She paused, probably checking to ensure I was still asleep. "The nursing home is perfect. Shady Oaks Memory Care. Once he's committed, we can visit twice a year and play the grieving family. Meanwhile, we sell the house and move to Florida like we planned." Florida. They'd been planning this systematic destruction for months. "The beauty is, it's all legal," she laughed. "Power of attorney for an incompetent relative. The court will thank us for taking such good care of poor, confused James." That night, while Patricia was at her book club, the same book club she claimed was too stimulating for my condition, I searched her belongings systematically. What I found exceeded my worst expectations. Real estate listings for Sarasota condos, all bookmarked, prices ranging from $400,000 to $600,000. A handwritten note. "Close on house by February 1st, move by March." But the most damning evidence was hidden in a manila folder behind her romance novels. Power of attorney documents already filled out and waiting for signatures, medical commitment papers for Shady Oaks dated January 3rd, and a handwritten timeline in Patricia's neat script that read like a business plan for my destruction. December 1st, 15. Secure medical opinions. December 16th, 25. Christmas is normal. Don't upset Danny. December 26th to 31. File commitment papers. January 3rd. Commitment to Shady Oaks. January 15th. Power of attorney hearing. February 1st. House closing. March 1st. Florida. She'd planned my entire destruction like a corporate acquisition. The next morning, I pretended to struggle with my oatmeal while Patricia made another damaging phone call. Dr. Brennan confirmed James for December 15th. I told him about the bathroom accidents and violent outbursts. Bathroom accidents? Violent outbursts? The lies were escalating rapidly. Danny's starting to ask questions, though. Last night he suggested maybe Dad just needs different medication, not a nursing home. She paused, listening to her co-conspirator. I know. We're too close to back down now. I already put a $20,000 deposit on the Sarasota condo. $20,000 from where? Then I remembered my mysteriously diminished pension checks. The memory care facility wants $4,800 monthly. Insurance covers maybe half, but it doesn't matter. Once we sell the house, we're set for life. Set for life. On my life's work, on the home Eleanor and I had built together over 4 decades. That afternoon, Patricia brought my coffee with extra sweetness. Here you go, Dad, your favorite. I watched her walk away, then carefully examined the mug. In the bottom, white residue that hadn't completely dissolved. I wet my finger and tasted it. Bitter, chalky, definitely pharmaceutical rather than sugar. I poured the coffee into a mason jar I'd hidden behind my chair, sealed it tight, and labeled it Evidence Sample Number 1. From that day forward, I collected and preserved every drug cup of coffee Patricia prepared, building a systematic case that would be impossible to refute. But I needed more than just physical evidence. I needed medical documentation proving I was being systematically poisoned. That's when I called Dr. Rebecca Foster, who'd been Eleanor's oncologist and knew me before Patricia's campaign of chemical warfare began. Dr. Foster, I need comprehensive blood work done privately, I explained when I met her at an independent lab. Toxicology screening for sedatives. I believe someone has been drugging me without my knowledge. Her expression shifted from confusion to alarm as I explained the 18-month timeline, the morning coffee routine, the systematic isolation, and the forged medical reports. I need you to test for sedatives and document that my cognitive function is completely normal. She drew blood and spent 30 minutes administering cognitive assessments, memory recall, pattern recognition, problem-solving exercises. James, your test scores are in the 95th percentile for your age group. There's absolutely nothing wrong with your mind. Then why do I feel foggy and confused every morning after coffee? Because someone is systematically drugging you, she said grimly. These blood samples will tell us exactly what and how much. While waiting for results, I made my second crucial investment. At Best Buy, I purchased a Wise security camera for $36, a tiny device no bigger than a golf ball with wireless capability and smartphone alerts. That evening, while Patricia attended Tyler's parent-teacher conference, I installed it behind the bread box on my kitchen counter with perfect angles to capture the coffee maker and whoever used it. The next morning, I pretended to shuffle downstairs late, playing the confused elderly man role while the camera recorded Patricia's routine in the high definition. 8:47 a.m. Patricia enters kitchen, starts coffee maker. 8:49 a.m. Retrieves pill bottle from purse, crushes 2 tablets with spoon back. 8:51 a.m. Stirs crushed pills into my coffee mug, adds extra cream to mask taste. 8:52 a.m. Brings coffee to my study with concerned smile. Here's your morning coffee, Dad. All captured in crystal clear video evidence. By noon, Dr. Foster called with blood results that confirmed my worst suspicions. James, you have 2.3 milligrams of zolpidem in your system. That's a full therapeutic dose of Ambien taken daily for months. It would cause exactly the symptoms you've described: memory problems, confusion, drowsiness, difficulty with speech. Is that enough evidence to prove systematic poisoning? It's enough to put someone in prison for elder abuse. That afternoon, I made copies of everything: blood test results, video footage, audio recordings, Patricia's timeline, the fraudulent medical reports. One complete set went to my safe deposit box at First National Bank. Another went to my attorney, Margaret Hayes, with a sealed letter explaining the entire situation. Margaret, if anything happens to me, if I'm suddenly committed to a nursing home or declared incompetent, open this envelope immediately and call the police. Margaret looked puzzled. James, you seem completely lucid to me. That's because I am. But tomorrow, I'm going to give the performance of my lifetime. My appointment with Dr. Brennan was December 15th. Patricia expected me to arrive drugged, confused, and easy to manipulate into a dementia diagnosis. Instead, I would give her exactly what she wanted while recording every fraudulent word she spoke, because sometimes the most effective way to expose a liar is to let them believe they're winning while you document their crimes. December 15th. The appointment that was supposed to seal my fate became the foundation of Patricia's complete destruction. I arrived at Dr. Brennan's office exactly as she'd planned, groggy, confused, stumbling slightly from the double dose of zolpidem I'd forced myself to drink that morning. But hidden in my jacket pocket, the digital recorder captured every moment of her elaborate deception. "Dr. Brennan, this is my father-in-law, James," Patricia said, guiding me to a chair like I was helpless. As I mentioned on the phone, his condition has deteriorated rapidly. Dr. Brennan was younger than expected, maybe 45, with the kind of smooth confidence that comes from rubber stamping difficult family decisions for profit. "Tell me about his symptoms," he said, barely glancing at me. "Memory loss, confusion, wandering episodes. Yesterday he asked me 4 times what year it was. He's becoming aggressive when we try to help him. For 20 minutes, I delivered the performance of my life, stumbling over simple questions, forgetting Patricia's name mid-sentence, asking repeatedly why we were there. Dr. Brennan took notes while exchanging knowing glances with Patricia. "I'm sorry to confirm what you suspected," he finally told her. "Moderate to severe cognitive impairment. I'll prepare documentation for memory care placement." "How quickly can we proceed?" Patricia asked. "His safety is our primary concern. I can have the papers ready by Monday. Shady Oaks is an excellent facility." Perfect. Everything falling into place exactly as she'd orchestrated, except I was recording every fraudulent word for future prosecution. December 18th brought Patricia's most damaging confession yet. I was pretending to nap when she made another phone call, pacing the living room freely while believing I was too drugged to understand. "The commitment papers are signed. January 3rd, we drive him to Shady Oaks and walk away." She paused, listening to her co-conspirator. "No, Danny doesn't know about selling the house. I told him we're just exploring care options. He thinks we'll visit every week and bring Tyler for holidays." Another pause, then cruel laughter. "Are you kidding? Once James is locked up, we're gone. Danny can visit his demented father alone if he wants. We'll be in Sarasota by March, and Tyler can spend summers with us instead of wasting time in this frozen wasteland." My grandson. She was planning to separate Tyler from his grandfather permanently. "The beauty is, it's all legal. Power of attorney lets me sell everything. The pension gets redirected to pay for his care, and if he dies in that place, which honestly wouldn't be the worst thing, we inherit everything free and clear." She actually verbalized hoping for my death while I sat 10 feet away. 18 months of planning, but it's finally paying off. By New Year's, we'll be millionaires. That night, I called Detective Rachel Stone at Minneapolis PD. Margaret Hayes had recommended her as someone specializing in elder abuse cases. "Detective Stone, I need to report multiple felonies in progress: elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy." "Sir, can you come in and file a formal complaint?" "I can do better than that. I can provide video evidence, audio recordings, and medical documentation of an 18-month systematic drugging scheme." 24 hours later, I sat in Detective Stone's office with manila folders containing blood tests showing deliberate poisoning, video footage of Patricia crushing pills, and audio recordings of her admitting to fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. "Mr. Whitfield, this is one of the most comprehensive elder abuse cases I've ever encountered. Your daughter-in-law is facing serious felony charges. I want her arrested, but I need you to wait until December 27th. Detective Stone looked puzzled. "Why the delay?" "Because Patricia has one final performance scheduled. Christmas morning, she's going to tell my family I'm too far gone to stay home. She'll present the nursing home commitment papers and explain how she's been protecting everyone from my dangerous behavior. You want your family to hear her lies before we arrest her? I want my son to understand exactly who he married, and I want Patricia to believe she's won right up until the handcuffs click." Christmas morning, 2024, arrived with Patricia humming while making breakfast. probably fantasizing about her new Florida condo. She had no idea this would be her last morning as a free woman. "Coffee's ready, Dad," she called, bringing the usual drugged cup. I took it gratefully, making a show of sipping slowly, while Patricia bustled around, preparing for Danny and Tyler's arrival. What she didn't notice was me pouring most of it into the potted plant beside my chair, the same plant that had been slowly dying for weeks from her daily poison doses. By 10 a.m., Danny and Tyler arrived with presents and forced Christmas cheer. My 12-year-old grandson gave me a careful hug. "Hi, Grandpa. Mom says you're not feeling very good." "I'm feeling better than I have in months," I told him, which made Patricia shoot me a sharp look. "Dad's having one of his clearer moments," she explained quickly. "They come and go now." At 11:30, Patricia made her move. "Danny, can I talk to you privately in the kitchen?" I followed quietly, staying just around the corner where I could hear everything. "Your father had another episode Tuesday night," Patricia began. "He was wandering the neighborhood at 2 a.m. in his underwear. Mrs. Johnson had to call me." Another complete lie. I'd been asleep in my bed. "I didn't want to ruin Christmas, but we can't wait any longer. Dr. Brennan says James needs immediate placement." The rustle of papers as she showed Danny the commitment documents. "Shady Oaks has a bed available January 3rd. "Patricia, this seems sudden." "Danny, look at these incident reports." More paper shuffling. "Violent outbursts, bathroom accidents, leaving the stove on 3 separate times. I've been protecting you from how bad it's gotten. All manufactured, every single incident." "What about the house?" "We'll have to sell it, of course. Memory care costs $4,800 monthly. We'll need the equity to cover his expenses." That's when I stepped into the kitchen. "What good memories would those be, Patricia?" She spun around, startled. "Dad, you should be resting." 18 months of good memories, like when you told everyone I had bathroom accidents, or when you claimed I threw a coffee mug at you. Patricia's face went pale. "Danny, your father is having another episode. Or maybe the good memory of you crushing Ambien into my coffee every morning since February?" I reached into my cardigan pocket and pulled out the digital recorder. "I'm talking about this," I said, pressing play. Patricia's voice filled the kitchen. "The beauty is, it's all legal. Power of attorney for an incompetent relative. The court will thank us for taking such good care of poor, confused James." Danny's face went white. "Patricia, what is that?" I fast-forwarded to another clip. "Once he's committed, we can visit twice a year and play the grieving family. Meanwhile, we sell the house and move to Florida like we planned." "This is fake," Patricia said desperately. "Danny, your father is delusional." Another clip. "The pills work perfectly. Once he's locked up, we're gone." I pulled out my phone and showed them the video footage. Patricia clear as day, crushing pills and stirring them into my coffee. "December 18th, 8:49 a.m., I said calmly. "I have 18 different videos, Danny. Your wife has been systematically poisoning me for a year and a half. I produced the blood test results. Dr. Foster ran a comprehensive toxicology panel, 2.3 milligrams of zolpidem. That's a full dose of Ambien taken daily for months." Patricia's careful mask finally cracked completely. "You don't understand the pressure I've been under. Your father was depressed, barely functional after Eleanor died. So you decided to make it worse by drugging me into submission?" Danny picked up the commitment papers. "January 3rd. You already scheduled this." "For $950,000, I interrupted. "The exact amount you negotiated for selling my house to Peterson Development." The silence stretched until Tyler wandered into the kitchen. "Why is everyone so quiet? And why is Mom crying?" "You're not going anywhere," I said calmly to Patricia. "Detective Stone is waiting outside." Through the kitchen window, we could see the unmarked police car in the driveway. Detective Stone's knock came exactly 30 seconds after I texted her. "Mr. Whitfield, we're ready to proceed." "Patricia Wilson Whitfield, you're under arrest for elder abuse, fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit involuntary commitment." "This is insane." Patricia backed toward the kitchen. "Danny, tell them your father is delusional." "Ma'am, we've reviewed 18 months of evidence, video footage of you crushing pills into his coffee, audio recordings of you admitting to systematic drugging, medical documentation proving deliberate poisoning. As they led Patricia toward the police car, she made one final, desperate plea. "You'll never be able to take care of yourself. You need me." I looked at my son, my grandson, and the police officers treating me with dignity and respect. Then I looked at Patricia. "The only thing I needed was for you to stop poisoning me." The car door slammed shut, and Patricia Wilson Whitfield disappeared from our lives forever. But the biggest surprise was still coming. While Patricia spent her first night in Hennepin County Jail, I was making phone calls that would complete her total destruction. December 26th, I drove to Margaret Hayes' law office with Danny and Tyler. "James, the Peterson development sale is officially void as of this morning. The property returns to your ownership." "Good. Now I want to make a real sale." I handed her contact information for the Minnesota Alzheimer's Association. "I want to donate the house to them as a charitable donation in Eleanor's memory." "Dad, you don't have to do that," Danny protested. "Yes, I do. Your mother spent her last months worrying about my future, afraid I'd be alone and vulnerable. This way, her memory funds research preventing other families from experiencing what we did." The house appraised at $950,000. After taxes, the donation generated $850,000 for Alzheimer's research grants in Eleanor Whitfield's name. March 15th, 2025. Patricia pleaded guilty to avoid trial. I watched Judge Harrison deliver her sentence. 4 years in state prison, $50,000 restitution, permanent restraining order preventing contact with me or Tyler. "Your actions represent particularly cruel elder abuse," Judge Harrison stated. "You systematically poisoned a grieving widower, stole his money, and attempted permanent institutionalization for financial gain." Danny filed for divorce that same week, receiving full custody with Patricia having no visitation rights until her release. Today I'm living at Sunset Manor Senior Community, sharp as ever at 70. Tyler visits every Sunday, and we read books together the same way Eleanor and I used to with Danny 40 years ago. I volunteer 3 days weekly at the Minnesota Alzheimer's Association, sharing my story with other families. Patricia gets released in 2029. By then, Tyler will be 16, old enough to understand exactly who his mother really was. Some people think revenge requires anger, but the sweetest revenge is simply living well, surrounded by people who genuinely value you. Justice served, memory preserved.